I can't think of a better place to be for me, and an honor to be in front of so many firefighters 2 days before the 10th anniversary of 9/11. I mean, we all knew where we were that day, and it's seared into our memories. And if you really, you think about it, that day, I think we just all wanted to be 10 years later. And we wanted the pain to be gone and to go away. And I remember when I was a kid, I would ask my parents and their friends, where were they when John Kennedy was shot? And they all knew. And I never thought for a second that we'd have a moment in American history where my kids will ask me where I was on 9/11. And my grandkids and our grandkids will do the same. And you just can't ever forget it. So it got me to thinking about all the sacrifices that those men and women made on that fateful day. And I would argue that it's rather obvious that the worst day in American history was September 11, 2001. But I would submit to you that the best day was September 12th. Because there was never more unity in this country than 24 hours after that. It was heartwarming to see, because we kind of get rid of all the piddly stuff in life and really understood and started to crystallize and appreciate how much our first responders do for our country, how much our military does for our country, and the courage that they show. I was at a chamber event in McKinney a couple of days ago, and it was to salute the first responders. And they showed a picture of a firefighter in New York named Brian Amoroso. I don't know if you all just refresh your memory. He was the big burly firefighter that the New York Times captured in a photo pulling someone out of one of the towers. And he saved that woman's life. He went back in that building 5 times. He saved 4 people. The 5th time, he didn't come out. And it got me to thinking about why he kept going back. Because he must have been afraid. I mean, you have fear. When you run into a burning building, you have to overcome your fear. How do you do that? And I think if I were to ask the question, what is the opposite of fear? Most of you would respond, well, it's courage. I would submit to you it's not. I would submit to you it's love. You can't have courage without love. Brian Amoroso and those other firefighters and police officers on 9/11 did not rush into those towers because they wanted a big medal from the mayor of New York the following week. They did it out of love for their brothers, out of love for life, out of love for the people that were in those buildings. It was their duty, it was their obligation, it was their job. 1 decade ago, Americans, and remember how proud of them we were? Everybody wanted to do something for firefighters and police in New York and around the country. And that was a good thing. So good things can come from tragedy. And so that was a decade ago. And then you think about 2 decades ago in Black Hawk Down and Casey Joyce, and why did they do the things that they did for us? 7 decades ago, why did a bunch of teenagers get off those Higgins boats in Normandy Beach and run towards the cliff? It wasn't because they were courageous. They were scared to death. I'm sure, you've seen Saving Private Ryan. They were soiling themselves. They were throwing up. They had to overcome that fear to charge that beast 7 decades ago. And I came across a letter. I was online about a month ago, and it was written by a Civil War soldier to his wife. He had a pretty good inkling of what was going to happen to him in very short order. The firefighters and the police in New York City on 9/11 had absolutely no idea what fate had in store for them that morning. This American 15 decades ago did. His name was Major Sullivan Bailew. He was a soldier in the Union Army. And he wrote his wife a letter that was so beautiful, and it's short. But I just wanted to share it with you because it really does epitomize what, at its core, creates courage. It was written on July 14th, 1861. My very dear Sarah, the indications are strong that we'll be moving out in a few days, perhaps tomorrow. Lest I not be able to write you again, I feel impelled to write these lines that may fall under your eye when I am no more. I know how very strongly American civilization now leans upon the success and triumph of the government. and what a great debt we owe to those that have gone before us through the blood and suffering of the revolution. And I'm willing, perfectly willing, to lay down all my joys in this life to help maintain this government and to pay that debt. But my dear wife, I know that with my own joys, I lay down nearly all of yours and replace them in this life with cares and sorrows. And after having eaten for long years the bitter fruit of orphanage myself, I must leave it as their only sustenance to my dear little children. But I can't describe to you the feelings I have on this calm summer night when 2,000 men are sleeping around me, many enjoying their last, perhaps before that of death. And I, suspicious that death is creeping behind me with its fatal dart, am communing with God, my country, and you. Sarah, my love for you is deathless. It seems to bind me to you with mighty cables that nothing but omnipotence can break. And yet my love of country comes over me like a strong wind and bears me on irresistibly with all these chains to the battlefield. The memories of blissful moments I've spent with you now come creeping over me. And I'm most gratified to God and to you that I've enjoyed them so long. That's why it's so very hard for me to give them up and to burn to ashes the hopes of future years where, God willing, we still may have lived and loved together and seen our sons grow up to honorable manhood around us. If I don't return to you, please never forget how much I love you. And when my last breath escapes me on the battlefield, it will whisper your name. Forgive my many faults and the many pains that I've caused you. Oh, how thoughtless and foolish I've oftentimes been. But if the dead can return to this earth and flit unseen around those they loved, I will always be with you. In the garish day and in the darkest night, amidst your happiest moments and your gloomiest hours. Always. Always. And if there be a soft breeze upon your cheek, it shall be my breath. And if a cool air fans your throbbing temple, it will be my spirit passing by. Do not mourn me dead. Think of me gone, and wait for me, for we'll meet again. And as for my little boys, they will grow up as I have done, never knowing a father's love and care. Little Willie is too young to remember me long, and my blue-eyed Edgar will keep my frolics with him amongst the dimmest memories of his childhood. I have unlimited confidence in your maternal care and the development of their characters. Tell our mothers and our sons that I call God's blessings down upon them. And I wait for you there. Come to me and lead thither my children. Sullivan. And when I read that, I was alone and I was in tears, first of all. But it was so touching, and that emotion pierced all distance and all time. So at the basis of what courage is, it is love. And only God can create life. But it's your calling to preserve it. And that's why, just talking amongst friends here, that's why all of you are my hero. So thank you very much.